Welcome to the People Sports Podcast. I'm Mark Titus. She is Charlotte Wilder. Coming up, we have National Player of the Year in college basketball, Luka Garza, to talk to us, to explain to us olds how NFTs work. This is a man who has made tens of thousands of dollars selling an NFT, Charlotte. We talked about it briefly on the show, and then this was a few weeks ago, and then we pivoted away from it very quickly because it was a little too confusing, a little over our head. But
Today, the theme of today's show, actually, Mark, is going to be things that are confusing and a little bit over our heads. But NFTs are definitely up there, and I'm just excited to talk to somebody who knows A, what they are, and B, how to make them, and C, how to sell them. So we're going to learn something.
And the guys that was the best player in college basketball last year. Some thought the last 2 years. So that's exciting. He's coming on the show to talk about that.
We also have some cool news, Mark.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's exciting.
Speaking of the people,
yeah, go ahead. Tell the people what the news is.
Okay, I'm obviously like overeager Charlotte about this, but we are taking the show on the road, which is what I've always wanted to say, which we're literally doing. We are this fall going to be going to different college football games around the country and doing some shows, talking to people, going to games, and I'm so excited, not just because I love doing this show so much, but also because I haven't been to a college football game or like interacted with strangers in so long that I think it's gonna be, it's like a brave new world out there.
You're gonna quickly regret it. Is that what you're trying to say? That you're like, this is gonna be so exciting, and then our very first stop, you're at a bar with a bunch of strangers, and you're like, oh my god, no.
I have like horrible social anxiety coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah, you're like, I can't do this. I'm gonna need a second. No, I'm excited. This is gonna be fun. We're going throughout college football fall, going to a handful of campuses. We don't know where we're going yet, but that's okay. That's the fun of the show is we're very flexible. You tell us where to go, we'll show up there. Thank you to Dos Equis for making this happen. We're gonna be taking the show on the road this fall, so look forward to that. If you live by a college campus, if you're in college, if none of those are true, but you have an internet connection and would like to follow along.
Yeah, you don't have to be there to watch.
You don't have to be there.
We're going to stream it. I do also want to say that if anyone thinks that like, oh, this is for college kids only, it's not. I feel like our demographic skews all over the board, and you can still go to, a college football game if you're not a student. Nobody knows that, but it's true.
Charlotte has already sent an email to Dos Equis asking if they make a Sauvignon Blanc for her to drink. She's like, I was thinking more of like, can we go to like a yacht club and do the
you have like an unfiltered Sauvignon or something. Yeah. And they're like, oh, we regret this immediately. I just want to say that I think our timing of trying my terrible idea of a silent podcast, timed with the announcement of this. Dos Equis is public. It's public now. Like, they're backing us. They can't back out. So we chose today to do the stupidest possible thing in appreciation for them, and also just to be like, look, we're gonna set the bar so low. Like, this is where it is. Yeah. So things are only gonna get better. Like, you made a smart brand decision.
Oh man, I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. We're going to probably tease it a handful of other times between now and the fall, I imagine. But that news broke today, and we're pumped about it. So join us. Put it in your calendar. I'm not really sure what that means because we don't exactly have dates or locations.
It's not in our calendar, but make
sure
put
it in your mental calendar. Just be like, yeah, that's a thing that's happening later in the year. Let's figure out what we want to talk about before we have Luke on to explain NFTs to us. Out of the gate, one thing I definitely don't want to talk about is that the Des Moines Yacht Club, which we arrived at it together on Monday. We decided that we wanted to start a yacht club, and we thought, what better way to do it than to pick a random place in Iowa, because I always come up with, like if I'm trying to just think of anywhere USA, I have a knack, excuse me, I have like a knack for coming up with, I always land on Iowa for some reason. So we thought, what about Des Moines? That would be funny. The Des Moines Yacht Club. And it has been brought to my attention, Charlotte, that the Des Moines Yacht Club somehow already exists. I am on quite a heater right now of inventing things that already exist. I'll have another.
You came up with the horse's name who won the Preakness and the Kentucky Derby, in 2012. You invented a yacht club that already exists.
Yep.
You came up with something else too, but I don't remember.
A basketball franchise called the Los Angeles Lakers. I think that would be successful. That rolls off the tongue well.
Oh, and I was like, that's a great idea. And then we Googled it and it's like LeBron James. No, I want to say too, though, that we knew that the minute we finished recording our honorable mentions episode, where we decided that we were going to make merch that said the Des Moines Yacht Club on it, we Googled Des Moines Yacht Club because we were like, well, let's just double check. Immediately realized that Mark had once again invented something that already existed. And we were like, do we hop back on? And then we were like, no, we'll ride this out. The amount of emails, the amount of tweets at us that have been like, guys, this exists. Apparently, though, it's a dive bar, Mark.
Oh, really?
Apparently, it's a dive bar.
That makes me like it more, honestly.
But I do also think you often arrive at Dubuque, Iowa.
I do say Dubuque. Is there a Dubuque?
I think there's a Dubuque boat club. From what I remember, but someone came up with actually a great idea for us that said we should do the Des Moines Iowa Yacht Club.
Oh yeah, because the Des Moines one is like in Washington, right?
It's in Washington State, which is weird.
Wow. Or we just do the Iowa Yacht Club as a whole, just the whole state.
Just the whole state. That's pretty good. Just the Flyover State Yacht Club.
Just the flyover, yeah.
The Flyover Yacht Club.
The landlocked yacht club.
Yeah. The Roadshow Yacht Club. Yeah.
Oh my God. Anyway, all right. I don't want to talk about it. I had my heart broken. We'll figure it out. Is there anything you don't want to talk about this week?
I don't want to talk about. Oh God, there are like a bunch of things I don't want to talk about. I still really don't want to talk about the NFL schedule release. That includes Tom Brady going to the Patriots in week 4, I believe. I think tickets are already selling for $1,000, like as the entry fee, or by that I mean the lowest possible ticket.
Yeah.
What do you call that?
It's a cover charge.
The cover is $1,000 for Gillette Stadium. And I just think that that's gonna, like, for a month leading up to that game, that's the only thing that anybody in sports media is going to be talking about. And so, first of all, we need to save it so that I can talk about it then. Second of all, I don't want to talk about it now, and I probably won't want to talk about it then, but that's still happening. That's a major talking point in sports media these days.
Patriots fans are definitely going to cheer for him, right? Like he's beloved still. Yeah, of course, right. Yeah. I just make it sure.
Like,
you never know.
Mac Jones and Cam Newton.
Yeah. They're going to cheer for the well, if there's anything I learned from the Buccaneers Super Bowl run, the Patriots fans are actually Buccaneers fans. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Bucs are running up touchdowns and the crowd's just going crazy.
Seriously. And once Edelman signs with the Bucs, it's all over. Anyway, so I don't want to talk about that.
We won't talk about that. You don't want to talk about? With Tom Brady, I don't want to talk about how I saw on Pro Football Talk that there's a petition for Tom Brady. Tom Brady took out PPP loans, Paycheck Protection Program loans during the pandemic, amounting to $960,000 for his TB12 situation. Is it company, his sports drink, his lifestyle?
You know how you used to we use situation for like a bad thing.
Yes.
Like that's what this is. The TB12 situation. You can't. I don't know if you can even call it a company.
He took out 960, not he, but the situation took out 960 grand. And there's now a petition, according to Pro Football Talk, of over 160,000 signatures on this petition for Tom Brady to return his money, because the people believe that Tom Brady's money would be best served. Like the purpose of PPP loans was for actual small businesses and actual people that are struggling. And Tom Brady is not one of those people. And I don't want to talk about it because that's going to get too much into the weeds of that's a little too political.
This is a completely apolitical. We stick to sports here.
Yeah.
I also, though, don't want to talk about that because it does make me pretty angry when I think about it, because I'm like, if you can sell a like $20 million apartment in Tribeca, but you take out almost $1 million in those loans. But to me, what's interesting, so I'm like, but again, I'm not going to talk about that or the politics of it. But what I will say is I want to know the fan affiliation for the majority of people who signed.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like, is this all Bills fans? Is this Steelers fans who hate that he crept up on their record? Is it who are the fans? Because Pats fans are like, well, look, I mean, TB12 technically is a small business, and like, think about the people who work there. Like, they're not all Tom Brady. And then Bucks fans are like, holy shit, we're relevant, so they're not going to sign it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's it. You should have to, if you sign the petition, you should have to check the box of which NFL franchise do you support, so
they're
we
like
could have
two
the date on
Lions
this.
fans for some reason. Everyone's like, what?
Yeah, I don't know enough about it to get upset, so I definitely don't want to talk about it. But I just want to, your golden boy. I just wanted to draw attention to this. Your golden boy is ruffling feathers, Charlotte. He's 160,000 people are not happy.
They just hate him because they ain't him. So
it's all Chiefs fans. That's probably what it is. It's Chiefs fans watching the Super Bowl. What is there anything else? I don't want to talk about the Columbus Crew. I don't know how aware you are of this. The Crew changed. They won the MLS Cup in 2020. Then they take all of that positive momentum after the franchise was saved with a new stadium coming in July. Yeah. And they decide this is a perfect time to completely rebrand as we are the champs. This is like the only time I can ever remember, and I don't know that I would remember otherwise, but this is the only time I can ever remember someone winning a title and then deciding this is the perfect time to rebrand. Like, now that everyone associates that logo with winning the title, let's get rid of it and let's go away.
And owns merch from them winning.
Let's scrap it all and start from scratch because we just won a title. And anyway, the last week or so, Charlotte, there was a big movement to save the Crew again because we had to save the franchise from moving to Austin. Then they get rid of the Crew name and they want to go by Columbus SC because they want Columbus to be this is honest to God, the rationale. They wanted it to be like a world brand. They thought if we go by the Columbus Crew, people know us as the Crew. They don't know. They want Columbus to go international. They want people to know Columbus internationally. And even the people in Ohio that live in Columbus were like, it's Columbus. What do you mean internationally?
That's like, I didn't know that part of the story. So they want to take the Crew out.
They were taking the Crew out of the official name. They were like, and people in Ohio were even like, we would settle for Columbus being known like throughout the Midwest. Like, that's kind of our aim right now. Like, what do you mean internationally? Like, people in Belgium are going to be like, yes, Columbus SC, huge fan, love what they're doing over there. Like, what are you talking about? So then the other day they decided, okay, we're listening to your complaints. We will now bring back the Crew. So they are now once again known as the Columbus Crew. And they tweak the logo, whatever, but they are basically keeping the logo. And I don't want to talk about it because that we've kind of saved the Crew, but at the same time, they got rid of the logo that was awesome for a logo that looks like a kindergartner created it. And I'm upset because if I complain too much, I sound entitled. So I don't want to talk about it.
Well, I have two questions that I wouldn't ask you. And if I were not to ask you them, it would be, didn't you put out a video? Wasn't there something about you put out a video of the new merch that they
sent me? I don't know how to say this without sounding like a douche, but Columbus, Ohio is not an international brand, Charlotte.
You don't have to preface this, Mark. You've said you're a big deal in Columbus, Ohio. That's fine. Yeah, you're allowed to be.
Yes. But I don't know.
It's a huge deal in Rockport, Maine. Okay. So like,
listen, Charlotte, saying you're a big deal in Columbus, Ohio, it's an international brand. So it sounds like I'm a world celebrity here.
You're right. My mistake. Sorry, Ben.
No, I'm actually a Crew fan. I had season tickets for a long time. They're one of the teams that I outwardly support, and very seriously support. So, the Crew have taken notice of this throughout the years, and they will send me stuff from time to time and say like, here you go, please continue spreading the good word. And they sent me a package of the new gear with the new logo on it. And I put a video on Twitter of me subtly, but maybe not so subtly, as I'm thanking them, I am throwing the new merch in the trash.
There you go.
And saying,
there's the Mark Crew. Titus way. I love it. All right. Well,
we won't talk about it.
Let's not talk about it. You know what I would like to talk about?
Please.
I would really like to talk about these NBA play-in games and how thoroughly and remarkably confused I have been for the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
Mark, it's the kind of thing where you'd think that working in sports would make me better at understanding sports things, but I still find myself, I'm like, okay, so, all right. So here, playoff situation. First of all, I saw a graphic on TV the other day that was a graphic of what this tournament, these playing games look like. still unbelievably confused. I felt like I was doing a flow chart of like a quiz in a women's magazine where you have to like follow the chart to find out what the next box is. I was like, okay, so I was like, all right, so if you have two games, the winners of each game will play each other.
Yep.
And then they go.
That's how a tournament works, right? That's how a tournament works.
Right?
Not so fast.
No. So can I see if I got this right?
Yeah, please. This is icing 2.0. Here we go.
Icing 2.0. Charlotte explains sports. Jeez, that's terrifying. That'd be actually a really good, like, that's like the next version of drunk history.
If you did that, honestly, if we did like a Charlotte explains sports, and like we said on the last show, we're like, we were talking about Virginia and you got something wrong and then people just flooded your inbox. If you did a show where you purposely, but kind of not purposely, take things that you try to explain it and you're wrong just enough, I feel like you'd have a massive hit on you. You'd be doing like millions of views because people, I mean, granted, there'd be a lot of like sharing the link with like, look at this dumb idiot, you know, like a lot of people would be forwarding
like, this is why women shouldn't be in sports.
Yes.
Like I would single-handedly ruin all of the progress.
Yeah. But you'd be laughing all the way to the bank. Yeah. You'd be laughing all the way to the bank though, Charlotte. I mean, my God, you'd be.
I mean, look, I'm willing to do a Charlotte Explains segment if you are. That's all I'm saying. You know what we should do? When we take this show on the road, when we go to colleges, I should have to explain their founding or like explain.
Oh, yeah. That's a great, I actually love that set, like explain their tradition or something. Like one, you know, we go to a school where like every kickoff, someone takes off their left shoe and they just like wave it around their head. And you're like, Charlotte, explain, why do they do that here?
And like, but you're not going to tell me what tradition it is so that I have to research it on my own, but like, I might just not know at all. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm just trying to juice our numbers here. So whatever it takes. But
all right.
My understanding.
Anyway, explain the play-in tournament, please.
Yes,
the tournament. I'm sorry, the play-in tournament.
The tournament, the play-in tournament. Sorry, play-in games. I don't know. See, already after great start. So so you had, if you were in the top 6 teams of your division, you are automatically in the NBA playoffs.
You're already wrong.
Okay. If you are the number 1 seed.
You're close. It's the top 6
seed.
Top 6 in the conference, not division, but
conference.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly what I said.
Okay.
Jesus. Are you even listening? Okay, so if you are in the top 6 in your division, sorry, conference.
Just said this.
I'm serious. I get so flustered when I have to explain things. I was terrible at taking tests. Okay, so if you are in the top 6 in your conference, you're in the playoffs.
Yep.
If you are 7, 8, 9, or 10, you have to take part in a play-in game. And if you are a 7 seed playing an 8 seed, whoever wins that game is automatically in the playoffs.
Yep.
And you don't have to play another game.
And you are now the 7 seed. Yeah,
exactly.
You're officially locked in as a 7 seed. Yes.
Like my Boston Celtics.
Your beloved Boston Celtics
beat the Wizards, and they are now the 7 seed, which means they get to play the Nets, which feels more like a punishment, but here we are.
Yes.
So if you are in the 9, 10 category.
Yep.
And you play that game. If you lose, you go home. But if you win, you play the loser of the 7-8 game.
Look at you. You did it. And the winner of that game, what happens?
They become the 8 seed.
There we go. There it is. You did it.
Do you know how hard I had to concentrate while I was saying that?
It's something that I don't know how to say. I mean, this sounds very stupid, but it makes sense in my head. It's something that's confusing until it's not. You know, like it's very confusing. And once you get it, you're like, oh, okay. Once
you get it, you're like, oh, okay. But then when you have to explain it back to someone, it's confusing again.
Yes. And it's hard because there's no visual. There are a lot of people that are visual. And like you said, the joy of a tournament, a typical tournament, typical single elimination tournament is we all know how brackets work. And you just throw up a bracket and you're like, all right, you win, you advance.
Totally.
But this one is very, very confusing, and until it's not, like you said. But I'm with you. The play-in is going on right now, so we should say we are recording this on Wednesday morning-ish / afternoon-ish, whatever. The Wednesday
it crosses the Greenwich Mean Time.
How does it work? So last night, as of this recording, your beloved Boston Celtics beat the Wizards. And have now advanced, as you said. They will play the Nets. They are the 7 seed in the East.
Guess who's going to that game?
Which, like,
not to brag.
The
Celtics Nets on Saturday.
Just game 1. Yeah. All right. Who are you cheering for? The Celtics.
Celtics. Come on. Come on. If it were Celtics Knicks, I'd have a real problem because I've been brainwashed and like really love this Knicks team and I'm excited for them. But it's Nets, and
it's
so
Nets.
I don't have
And
to care.
Nets are kind of the villains of the NBA right now. So that's an easy call. The Pacers, my beloved Pacers, I should say. My hometown beloved Pacers destroyed the Charlotte Hornets and
absolutely massacred them.
So the Pacers will now play the Wizards tomorrow, I believe. And the winner gets to be the A seed and play the 76ers in the playoffs. But anyway, that brings us to the point, which is tonight, I think, is the night that everyone had circled. When these play-in tournaments started, everyone circled it as Lakers Warriors, LeBron James versus Steph Curry, which has defined kind of this era of the NBA.
Totally.
But it's done so at the NBA Finals level. It is now doing so at the play-in tournament level, where everyone, and I guess the reason we're bringing it up is because unfortunately the way our production schedule works, we are recording this before the game, so everyone listening knows what happened in that game. Charlotte and I do not know what happened in the game.
You guys you're like gloating right now. You're like
time traveling. You're time traveling back in time.
And you could tell us right now. Like
tell us
right now and tell us who won.
Tell us who
Here's
won.
The thing. I thought we should record two versions of this. I thought we should record one pretending that we already knew that the Lakers won and one pretending we already knew the Warriors won and having to do it in like the vaguest terms because we have zero specifics.
Yeah.
And then realize that would be terrible audio.
Well, I'll say this as a guy who has watched NBA basketball my entire life and has noticed some patterns.
As a guy who declared for the NBA draft.
I declared for the NBA draft. People do forget that I was once in the NBA draft. I was once invited to the NBA draft too in 2007.
Wow.
By Greg Oden. He was being drafted. I was not invited by the NBA, but we'll leave that part
out. Still
counts. I have through the years, Charlotte, noticed some patterns, we'll say, of things that happen in the NBA. And let me just say that your idea of doing two different versions of the podcast, I don't think it's going to be necessary. I'm going to say, let's just record the version that the Lakers win because I don't know. I've seen some patterns. You're going to
look like such a big dummy if tomorrow the Warriors won.
If
listen,
by chance,
okay, I get it. They're not going to. They're not going to. The only way is if Steph Curry is better than LeBron, AD, and every other player because come on.
I'm going to tell you why they're not going to, because the best thing that could happen for the interest in the play-in tournament is that Steph Curry loses this and now has to play in a do or die game where he's carrying the Warriors on his back and has to score 70 points. He already did it against the Grizzlies the other night, in the last game of regulation to get the Warriors into this game instead of the game of the Grizzlies.
Shirt.
Yeah.
I almost just lifted up my shirt and I was like, I'm a girl. I was like, whoa. Yeah, it's like we gotta slow our roll here. Okay, so
so I think for maximum intrigue in this play-in tournament thing, like I guess you could argue the Lakers fighting for their lives, but that's not gonna just not gonna happen. LeBron has already poo-pooed this entire idea. He said whoever came up with this idea should be fired. They're not going to punish LeBron. They're not going to make, and I understand that that's not how it works, and they have to go out on the court and win, and one team is going to play better than the other team and whatever. But come on, I've watched enough NBA. Yeah, exactly. I've watched enough NBA in my life, Charlotte.
In the words of Aisha Curry, this is absolutely rigged for money.
Or the NBA,
not sure which.
Is the king, as I describe it, the NBA is the king of the foot wedge in golf. When you're aware of the concept of the foot wedge? Yes, that is the NBA. They're not like outwardly saying like, I watched you hit it 12 times and I'm going to write down a 4 on the scorecard. I'm just going to say like, if everyone looks that way, I'm going to go ahead and foot wedge the ball back into the fairway and then away we go. I think that's going to happen. I think the Lakers are going to win. But nonetheless, it's going to be exciting. I'm excited to watch it. The question I have for you, Charlotte, is part of the reason they instituted this play-in tournament, this convoluted situation, is for maybe people like you who are not glued to your screen every single night following NBA action, and they're trying to get people to care about these teams at the bottom. Because I think what has happened to the NBA is it is in the last however many years, it has gotten to a point where people go into the playoffs knowing that like basically the top 2 or 3 seeds in each conference are the only teams that are good. There's no point in watching any of this until the finals, till the conference finals. What is a way we can get people to care, to lock in, to be intrigued,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And they come up with this. So my question is, did it work? Are you interested, Charlotte? Does it have your
Yes.
attention?
Yes. So I think that originally when I heard about this, it felt too gimmicky. You know, like my initial
Yeah.
reaction was it feels gimmicky and I don't like change because I'm a sports fan. So of course I'm going to be angry about it. And then I was like, wait a second. So this year I've probably watched more NBA basketball than I have any previous season. And as someone who was sort of like medium dialed in, I think that this is a great idea. I really do, because it not only has it made me care about the last regular season games that normally you would really only care about if there were a playoff spot on the line, but it also, someone floated the idea at one point of having, like, if you are a certain number of games ahead of the 8 seed if you're the 7 seed, or the 10 seed if you're the 9 seed, you don't have to play a play-in game. And to me, the more sort of like caveats you could add to the regular season, I think it makes it more fun, because the higher the stakes for each regular season game, maybe, you know, you were saying that, like, KD ruined basketball.
Kevin Durant ruined basketball, and then I made the argument that Steph Curry this year, as he was going nuts, single-handedly carrying the Warriors. I mean, Draymond was playing. Draymond's helping, but like, come on,
Yeah,
basically Steph.
Steph's done it. But
yeah,
like you saying that, I think what could save the regular season is like make it a little more gimmicky, but to the point that it actually has playoff implications, because it just makes it like, it makes it matter more.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I that's kind of what they did in the Disney bubble, I believe. Like we got one play-in game. That was but that was more of a factor of like they halted the regular season, and then they were bringing back the regular season. They were trying to figure out like what's a fair way to make it where you know, we still get, because at the time that they halted it, you know, some of the teams could argue it's like we had the long picture in mind and we thought we had 20 whatever games left, and now you're telling us we have 7. Like, that screws up.
Yes, exactly.
So they came up with some system, but I think what you're describing existed last year, where if you were up by a certain number of games, you didn't have to play in, and then if it was like and then we got one. What was the Blazers and the Grizzlies, right? Last year, and then Damian Lillard went nuts.
And it was controversial because the Suns went 8-0 in the bubble.
They did,
but didn't
the
make
Suns, they didn't
playoffs.
make it, and that was
I mean, not really controversial, but it was funny.
No, it is like a funny thing to look back on, because it's like, what else? If you're the Suns, like, we won every game, and
they're like, have to go, literally, why are we here?
Why are we invited? Now the Suns are the 2 seed, Charlotte, so maybe that's why they're there. They used that fueled them this year. I'm excited for the playoffs, by the way, just in general. Just that the Jazz are the 1 seed in the West, the Suns are the 2 seed, the Nuggets are the 3 seed. What? That's incredible. That's incredible. Just to say that out loud,
because like small markets
coming in, the Clippers, the Lakers, those were the team, you know, that I think those are basically the 2. I think the Nuggets and Jazz they've been good for the last few years, so I don't think that's much of a surprise that they're up there. But the small markets are the non-East. It's not the best teams in the West. They're all in Mountain Time. It's not.
Oh my God,
it's not dominated by the coast right now. So that's exciting.
The coastal elites like me are just rolling over, not in their graves. I'm not dead.
But I think one of the things I'm excited about with this play-in tournament is I don't think this is the end of the NBA throwing stuff against the wall. Which, first of all, I'll say I love this. I do love the play-in tournament idea. I do love spicing it up. I don't think LeBron's upset because in his mind he's like, we earned the 7 seed. Why do we have to go earn it again? And it's like that. I mean, we're talking about the 7 seed. It reminds me of kind of like the NCAA tournament when people bitch about being on the bubble and not making it into the tournament. And
like, well, then be a little bit better.
Be better. Like, if you're on the bubble, you suck. So maybe don't suck. You know, like
don't brag about being almost good.
I never really, I mean, I kind of understand it, but I don't know. I was in 2008, I was on a team at Ohio State. We were on the bubble. We missed out we got the 1 seed in the NIT. We ended up winning the NIT. We thought, everyone in our locker room thought we were going to the NCAA tournament. I didn't think so, because I watched college basketball my whole life, and I like kind of know what it takes to make the NCAA tournament. Right. So I'm like looking around at my teammates. I'm like, you should probably not watch Selection Sunday. I don't think this is going to go well. But I remember thinking, like, we didn't make the tournament, and I remember sitting there thinking, like, yeah, of course we didn't make the tournament. We sucked this year. And I thought, I knew when we made the NIT, Charlotte, that I knew we were going to win the NIT because I knew we were so much better than everybody else in the NIT. And I knew that from a talent perspective, we belonged in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
But I also remember thinking like, we sucked. Like that's the rules. Like you have to win games to make it. So that's my thought on this is like the complaining about, why should we have to go earn it again? It's like, we're talking about the 7 through the 10 seeds. You sucked. Like it incentivizes. That's the whole point of it. It incentivizes you to not sit out certain number of games, to not rest guys, to not take games lightly because they might matter at the end, right?
You know what I also loved, speaking of, guys sitting out or load management or however you want to call it, is at the Basketball Hall of Fame when Vanessa Bryant accepted Kobe's, posthumous induction into the Hall of Fame. And she said, I used to ask him, why won't you just sit this one out? Or if you're hurt, why won't you just sit? Because, the picture of him all wrapped in ice, like, and she was like, and he said that he remembered being a kid and going to see basketball games and, not what, like, being devastated if his player wasn't there. And he was like, I always think of the fans who saved up their money to come see me and I don't want to let them down, blah, 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 which is how I just want everyone to know I show up to this podcast every week with that same mentality. But no, it was sort of like a funny dig at like I don't think she meant it to be. She meant it as genuinely like a heartwarming story, but it was funny because I was like,
well, I mean, yeah. It's a dig at
like
the modern
something
guys,
that's been in the narrative of like, well, should they sit out? Should they not? Blah, blah. And she was like, he never sat out a single game. I was like, kind of loved it.
You're talking to a guy that was raised in Indianapolis, and I would go to Pacers games to see like the stars coming in, and now I feel bad for the kids that have coming up because Indianapolis is 100% a destination that if you're a star player, you circle that as I'll sit that one out.
Yeah, you're like, oh,
I'll say
Iowa.
I'll play in Madison Square Garden. I'll play in Boston. I'll play in Philly, but Cleveland, Indy, nah. I'll sit those ones out.
I think another thing about, superstars or when you see them or ratings or sitting games out is that you like Warriors Lakers is going to have this playing game is going to have a higher rating than like the finals.
Mm-hmm.
I know
what you mean. I know what you're saying.
But at the same time,
but actually it might. It's not, but like if you told me it did and I had to give you a 1 to 10 on how shocked I was, I wouldn't get any higher than 5, if that makes sense.
I'd give it like a 3. I'd be like, obvious. It's a shorter time commitment. It's one game. It's exciting. Like,
I think
it feels like playoff basketball without being technically playoff basketball.
That's another weird thing, by the way, is that no one knows what to do with these stats. That Jason Tatum balls out, and it's like, does this count as a playoff game? Like in terms of history, and the answer is no, it doesn't. So then
it does, right? It's just a regular. It's like
it doesn't count as a regular season game either.
So what do you like? Does he become the first player ever in history to score 50 points in a play-in game?
I guess I don't know because
that's so lame. I'm sorry.
Like Steph Curry secured the regular season scoring title, and if he sucks tonight, that doesn't affect it, because it's done. But it's also doesn't, like, if he scores 1,000 points in the game tonight, his playoff scoring average doesn't go up. So it just kind of exists in its own. It's like it didn't exist. And that to that point, I ask you, Charlotte, are these games even real? Are they actually happening?
If a playoff game takes place and nobody knows stats. What it is, there's no stats. There's no Did stats. It even happen?
Did it even happen? That's a great point.
I think that is a sort of territory we're entering though with like a lot of things now. Yeah. Because like the NFL adding games, what do you do with the stats? Like never before has a team gone, 10-7. Like what the heck,
Yep. Same with Madison Bumgarner threw a no-hitter in a 7-inning game because the MLB is doing, if it's a doubleheader, each game is only 7 innings this year.
I forgot. That's
right.
And
Madison Bumgarner in one of those games throws a no-hitter, and they decided that's not a no-hitter. They're like, we can't count that. And to me, I'm like, I mean, I understand why you're coming to that conclusion, but also like the name of the accomplishment is no-hitter. He pitched an entire game.
Yeah.
And there were no hits. I don't understand.
No, seriously.
Like that's a no-hitter. That's a no-hitter.
That's a no-hitter. This is where the analytics nerds need to get their heads out of their butts and be like, you know what? That's a no-hitter.
If you pitch a 5-inning game and it gets rained out and you've got a no-hitter going, that's a no-hitter. I'm counting it. It's not the act is called no hitter. It's called a no hitter. It's not called like a
right.
a
It's not
27
like
outer, a 27 out.
That was fast mental math.
That's not what it's called.
It's also like people are imagining this alternate universe where like Madison Bumgarner pitched 2 more innings, or where like if it's a 5-inning game because it got rained out, the other 4 innings exist somewhere, and who knows if those were hitters or no hitter. And it's like, what? That's not how sports works. So I don't know.
I will say, going back to the Lakers Warriors tonight, the one thing working against it is that it is the loser is not out. I think if the games were flipped, if the Grizzlies and Spurs tonight was the 7-8 game, and the Lakers Warriors was the 9-10, where the loser's out and the winner stays in, that is maximum intrigue. I don't know why I keep using that phrase.
I am here for it. The People Sports Podcast, maximum intrigue. I agree, but I also, to my point of how confusing this whole thing is, keep forgetting that it's not.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
I keep thinking that whoever loses is out. I swear to God, Mark.
Honestly,
like when you just said that, I was like, oh, right.
I don't think you're alone in that. I think if the Lakers lose tonight, there are going to be a lot of people celebrating and saying, "Suck it, LeBron. Get out of my playoffs."
Now you're not the play. Yeah. Should I tweet? Should I like Jordan lead the charge and pretend that I don't understand and have like 1 million people on Twitter explain to me that no, they're still in the playoff hunt?
Thank God so LeBron's gone. Get him out of here.
Thank God. I'm so glad the Lakers.
Yeah, now LeBron's gonna be the 8 seed and probably beat the Jazz in the first round. So
yeah,
damn it.
Exactly. I mean, someone was saying the other day, in terms of what we were talking about with small markets, this was one other thing I wanted to say, that like people complaining about the regular season not mattering is largely because like idiots like us in the media have kind of screwed it up. Like you've got these 3 small market teams in the top 3 seeds, and that's really cool. And people are still like, oh, but Warriors, Lakers, it's like, that's the narrative of why isn't it more impressive that like, why wouldn't ratings be better if the Suns make it to the finals? Like they're not gonna be, because that's how attention spans work.
Yeah, and David Stern figured this out decades ago, which is why, again, that's where the NBA foot wedge comes in, Charlotte. You're getting it. You're figuring it out. You understand.
Here we go.
Charlotte explains the NBA foot wedge. All right, so here's how it works. Some cities are bigger than others, and David Stern was the first person to realize that, to look at a census and say.
So if you call up every ref and you're like, listen, man.
I'm with you. I'm excited for the small market, because I genuinely think that this is the best thing that could happen for the NBA. Is I've gone on this rant 1 million times, but it's relevant again, so I'll do it again. That I do think the best thing that can happen for the NBA, the long-term health of the NBA, is actually providing an example, providing proof that the small market teams can win NBA titles and can do it like in non-fluky ways. They can do it like, because the Cavs won, but let's be honest, it's a fluke that you had a guy in LeBron James that was born down the road.
Yes.
And he decided to come back home, quote unquote, just to like help his brand for a couple years so he can then go to LA and make movies. Like it was all strategic, but like the Cavs it wasn't like the Cavs were like, we're smarter than everyone and we're going to build this awesome team. It was like, LeBron said, I want to come back home to use that as a brand play. And they were like, awesome, we'll win a title, I guess. So what I think the NBA
and even
needs,
then maybe we won't.
Yeah, but then again, like it took like a miracle.
Yeah, I was not thinking. I was like, that's an adorable choice, LeBron.
Yeah, but it worked out. So
here's a fun wedge that people don't drive into the GOAT conversation enough. Should LeBron be a greater GOAT because he played on a team that he had to carry on his back for so long? Do people often say that? Have you heard that before? Have you put that in your pipe and smoked it?
That Jordan had better teammates than LeBron has had? But then don't start me down this road.
I know. It's funny though, a little bit. Sorry. I'm trolling.
No, I think the NBA, I think this would be great. I think like the Jazz, if like the Utah Jazz win the title, or the Phoenix Suns, that I'm trying to think of who could come out of the East. The Bucks, I guess. You get like a Bucks Suns Like
Adam
America,
Silver would be just cowering under a table,
yeah,
being
like
like, the
the
ratings.
ratings would
No.
suck. People, but I genuinely think it would be good for the long term because then
Yeah.
you could actually convince Orlando Magic fans that you do have a chance. That like someday you could be the Milwaukee Bucks if you would just like get your heads out of your asses and do things right. Like that could be you. Um, so I that's what I'm cheering for. I cheer for the small markets for that reason, and I'm excited for the West in that regard. But boy, I'm also worried that the Lakers are just going to get the like when the Lakers get the 8 seed or the 7 seed, whatever, they're going to play the Jazz. When the Lakers make the playoffs, they're going to play the Jazz or the Suns, and when they win in the first round, it is going to be devastating to small market Mark. Small
Small
market Mark is going
market.
to.
Oh, he's gonna be so sad. That might not happen. I mean, it probably will happen. You're probably right. That will definitely happen. But what you want is an example of like capitalism working. You know how like people are like, the common man will often vote against his interest because he thinks that someday he'll be a billionaire. Like you want evidence that small market fans are not wrong to hope.
To believe, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Trailblazers are a great example. They have their fans are insane. They
Yeah.
love Portland so much. I experienced this tangentially when Greg got drafted there, and I would like talk to him about it and just witness like how he was treated. Those people are nuts about the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah.
And from an outsider's perspective, I would say they're kind of like delusional in like a lovable way about it. You know what I mean? Like they're delusional because they genuinely believe every single, not every year, but like in general, they're like, we have one of the best franchises, and they're not wrong, and they've won a title in the past, like way in the past, but like it happened.
Yeah. When was
And
that?
they have the feeling that like we can do this, and Damian Lillard is awesome because he's one of the guys talking about guys bouncing around and wanting to sit out. He is an old school guy. He's like, I will not build a super team. I want to be here. I want to win a title here. And that's all great, but like, is it actually feasible? I don't know, Charlotte. And I would love to be able to nod my head and say, yeah, it is. There is a world
I
where the
know.
Portland Trailblazers could, with Damian Lillard, build a winner and win a title. And I don't know if that's true right now. So
I don't
that's what I
either.
want. That's
I
what I
think
want.
we're too I would say we're too cynical, but I think we're just using logic of like how are you supposed to compete against the super teams if people are
Yeah.
still making them? Like the
Yeah.
thought of playing I felt sick to my stomach last night when the Celtics won and I was like, "Oh, this rules. Tatum had 50 points." And then it's like, "Oh my god, we're literally walking into a buzzsaw." Like, are you kidding me? And afterwards like on TNT and then whatever that NBA show is called cuz I can't remember the names of anything. Shaq goes, he was like, well, if Tatum keeps playing like this and, Kemba Walker with Jaylen Brown out, Kemba Walker can really step up. And Charles Barkley just starts cracking up. He's like, man, he was like, are you telling me that with a worse team than they had when they got beat by the Nets 3 times this season, now they can win? And Shaq was like, yeah. And I was like, Shaq, you phoned it in, man. Like, God bless you, but you are not even, you're just
I don't know.
saying.
Or maybe that's like part of the job is you just have to like convince people anything could happen. And if Jason Tatum scores 50 points every night
game.
out, the Celtics can cover in these games. They will cover the spread.
Points is like an absurd amount of points. Can really count to 50.
Man. Anyway, back to the big picture. I like the play-in. I like I like mixing it up. I like the playoff format in the NBA has gotten a little stale. I don't know what other tricks they should do. One thing that I find fascinating, especially when you were explaining what the play-in tournament is, and you mentioned the division winners. I don't I would love to see a world where the divisions matter. They still have divisions in the NBA, do they not? I believe they do. I don't know
I
if they've
don't
gotten
even
rid of
know.
those
As
yet.
soon
They've
as I
talked
saw
about getting rid of
division,
those
I was like, isn't that such a thing? And then I realized I was thinking of the divisional round in the NFL.
in the NFL. Well, in the NFL, if you win your division, you're in. It doesn't matter like that, and that's always a frustrating thing for inevitably there's one division that's horrible. It's almost always
God
the
bless
NFC
the
East.
NFC East.
Yeah,
That's all I'll say about that.
But if you win, you're in. Same with baseball. You win your division, you're in. Then you have wild cards, whatever. The NBA has divisions, but they don't do it that way. And I would love to see them do it that way
I
because
agree.
The reason they don't is because they're like, that's stupid. They don't want to do what the NFL and MLB do, where like a crappy division winner gets in over a team that maybe is more deserving, whatever. But I think it's a great way to foster rivalries amongst the regular season. It makes the regular season matter. It makes the
Yeah.
Knicks versus the Celtics in the regular season matter. This is the division crowns on the line. If we win, we get a top seed in the playoffs. If we lose, but instead it's like, who cares? We're both better than, the Heat. So we're going to be higher than them. And that's kind of where they arrive, and then they don't care. So that's one thing I would love to see.
I could not agree with you more.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
I would love to see them do that, but I don't know. I don't know if we'll do that. Okay. Let's sorry, I got distracted. I thought Kat was saying,
I
you were
did
saying
too.
Luka Garza was here. All right, I'll pick it back up. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if they'll ever do that, but that's the thing about the NBA, Charlotte, is that no idea is outside the box with them. I think we've arrived at that point, and that's an exciting thing. Should we do our list? Because we had this idea for lists, and and me throwing out an idea for the NBA moving forward.
You just fixed.
I fixed the NBA.
Fixed the NBA. You fix everything. You fix the NBA. You made everything work, which is something that sports media people love to do.
Yes.
So I thought it would be funnier if all of these rules seemed to me like they have existed just to anger people or upset them or ruffle feathers. Like, the NFL adding games. What was the college basketball one you mentioned?
Well, college basketball every offseason. What's interesting about the NBA adding a play-in tournament, which is a college basketball idea. We have the play-in games of college basketball. Is that college basketball at the end of every season looks at the rules, looks at the gameplay, and says, we have to be more like the NBA. And they start tweaking the rules to be more like the NBA. Meanwhile, the NBA is like, nobody watches our games. Everyone watches the NCAA tournament. How do we get more like college basketball playing games?
How many more tournaments can we add in the regular season of the NBA?
College basketball every offseason, they have like a big summit where they kick around rules to change. And, Tate and I have to talk about it because it's the offseason. There's nothing else to really talk about. But we always, my point is always like, I'm not anti-change. I just, a lot of the stuff does feel like change just for the sake of change. It just feels like we have to tweak something because that's just how this works. And I laugh at that. So yeah, that's where we're at with college basketball. They're throwing around the idea of like having 6 fouls instead of 5, which would fundamentally change the game.
That's absurd.
They're just like, we should do it because like guys foul out too much. And my answer to that is like, then don't foul so much. Like I don't like maybe figure that out.
That's like that's like baseball being like, we need fewer home runs. So, and it's like, okay, well then make pitching harder or like that, whatever the equivalent.
We want more runs. So now you get 4 or 5. You get 4 or 5 outs instead of 3 each.
Exactly.
Inning. You're like, what? Why? That changes everything.
Like, what if you just what if you bead better?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is just come up with rules that throw a wrench in the entire system.
We want to troll.
These are top 5 troll rules.
Yeah, because it's more fun to do this than it is to try to fix everything. Because as you said, it's all already been fixed. So yeah, we're gonna do the troll list. Before we get to that, Charlotte, we have to talk to National Player of the Year. Should Iowa fans believe he should be 2-time National Player of the Year? He was not, unfortunately. Obi Toppin beat him year before. He came back this past year. 1 National Player there. His name is Luka Garza, and he sold an NFT, Charlotte, for $41,000. I'm not really sure what that means, but that's why we're having him on. He's going to explain it to us.
I cannot wait to find out.
All right, joining us now is National Player of the Year, Luka Garza. I'm excited to finally, by the way, Luka, have you on a show where I can say those words because it's been presumptive for so long. And finally it happened. And you said, I think the last time I talked to you, you were like, I don't want to jump ahead of myself. And now we're here. You're the National Player of the Year. We have a policy on the show. If you're a National Player of the Year, if you are an MVP, it's an open invitation to come on the show. And there's that, but there's also this, Luka, that last month, we saw that you auctioned off an NFT for $41,000. Charlotte and I are very old. We like to think of ourselves as young. We like to think of ourselves as hip and up with what's going on in the world. We realize we don't, and NFTs are above our head. As a man who has now sold an NFT for tens of thousands of dollars, explain to us, what is an NFT, Luka?
The easiest way I can explain it is it's a digital trading card. So as there are physical trading cards that people like to collect as memorabilia and collectibles, this is the same way, but just digital. So each person is the exclusive owner of the blockchain technology, which is the NFT.
Wow, look at that.
Oh my God. That's Luka. We have a segment on this show called Charlotte Explains Things, where I just get everything wrong. And you have an open invite to come do that segment for me anytime. I have a question. Okay, this sounds really stupid compared to how smart you just sounded, but if you have the blockchain, how do you not just take a picture of the thing? Like, can I take a picture of your NFT and make that an NFT, like NFT Inception?
I don't think you could do that, but
okay.
The person who owns it is the exclusive owner of the NFT. So from now to the end of the time, that piece of data will just be theirs. So it's the same thing with like NBA Top Shot. Like you can of course screenshot, whatever NFT or all of the Top Shots that they have, but people want them because they're collectibles and you own the specific ones and you can trade them, all sorts of things like that. So this is similar to that, but obviously it's a little bit more, a little bit different.
You could take a picture of the Mona Lisa on your cell phone, but you're not selling that picture for any amount of money.
When you put it that way, it makes me sound unbelievably stupid. Thank you, Mark.
That's how it goes. But so I understand that part of it. What I don't understand is like, so when you're going to create an NFT, what was the NFT that you sold? Was it like a specific play? Was it like a picture of you holding an ice cream cone and giving a thumbs up? Like what is it that the person bought that they got from you?
For sure, the first NFT that I sold was just like a cool, really cool graphic that kind of led up to the picture, and the picture had a bunch of different pictures of me during my career. And then on the other side was some of my stats and some of my awards from this year. But on these next 3 NFTs that I'm dropping today on OpenSea, these are a little bit more creative designs coming from meetings with my team that I had these ideas to talk about. And so these are a little bit different, a little bit more, more artistic.
Yeah. You should do, how many career points did you have? You should do every single point. You just do one NFT of like every basket you made your career and just like rake in the money. Is that not, I mean, that's not the worst idea I've ever had.
Sell each point for thousands.
Yeah. I mean, that is like, you don't even have to play professional at that point, Luka. Just sell. I mean, like that, you're retired before you even start your pro career.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. We have a lot of NFTs coming out soon. This partnership that I have with the Iowa Children's Hospital, each NFT that I sell, part of those proceeds are going to them. So that's something I'm really passionate about as well. So it's not only just for me to make money, it's just starting to give back.
That's awesome. That's
awesome. I love that you played for Iowa, and I love that you're doing this for a charity in Iowa. We have a joke on the podcast that whenever we need to think of a place, like a random place in America, we'll say Iowa, and you are putting so much well-deserved respect back on Iowa's name on this podcast. It feels like a real full circle moment.
Yeah,
Thank you for saying.
Luka, I have a habit. Yeah, like Charlotte said, if I'm trying to think of a random town that's just like anywhere USA, just represents like the salt of the earth people, I have a habit of just like always picking a town in Iowa. What you're not an Iowa native. You played, college basketball in Iowa, obviously. In your time at Iowa, what is your outside of campus? What is like your have you explored much of the state? Like what is a place in Iowa? I need you to authorize which city should I say when I'm trying to like rack my brain for like anywhere USA? Which one should I pick?
There's a lot of them. Over my 4 years, I got to see a lot of different places in Iowa. Obviously, some of my teammates and best friends are from Iowa. So, in this time, I kind of became kind of part Iowan from being a city kid, growing up. But I think there's a lot of places. I love Cedar Rapids. There's so much good food, good places to be, and great people. I like Des Moines a lot. I think that's another one. And and Waterloo kind of has a little Bosnian community, and I'm half Bosnian, so there's some Bosnians up there. All right. So those are some I'd say.
They have the thing about Iowa too is so many great names of cities, like
Des Moines, exactly.
Waterloo, Dubuque. They're so fun to say. Cedar Rapids.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's all. So what else? So let's get back to NFTs because I'm fascinated by this. Do you are you a buyer? I mean, maybe not a buyer, but are you keeping your eye on NFTs? Are you a collector? Like what if you're interested in buying an NFT, what are you looking for? What is if you could own any NFT, what is Luka Garza like? Man, it'd be cool if I could own that.
I think, I look at the artwork and how unique it is. But also with my NFTs, I kind of offered a package that came with it, and with these ones, there'll be different shoes that are signed from different games that I've played in. Also,
Nice.
chances to
Cool.
come meet me. One of the cards is a Naismith trophy card. And that one, you have the opportunity to come and actually see the trophy in person, take a picture with it, meet me, stuff like that. So, I think the whole package is also something I look for, and you see with Evan Mobley and Jalen Suggs when they dropped theirs, they each kind of had a package. Jalen Suggs, he gave away the shoes from the shot, different things like that. So people are kind of embracing that idea that kind of I went with on my first NFT. So I'm excited about it, and that's why I look forward to trying to help more people create their own NFTs and kind of using the model that I have.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that too. Like, how much of this is motivated by you? Certainly, the last 2 years you were at Iowa, you were, if not the best. I mean, you were the best player last year. The year before, as you know, like you split National Player of the Year, whatever, however you want to say it. You have been an All-American at Iowa for multiple seasons, and obviously, per NCAA rules, you're not really profiting off of that. How much of with the name, image, likeness stuff going on in college basketball right now, and there's supposed to be a decision made by July 1st, I keep hearing. How much of the motivation behind creating this is to do with that, or am I making that up? Is there some sort of motivation of like trying
No,
to?
absolutely. I started the Luka Garza NFT group.io, which is a place that people can go and I can help them do their own NFTs, and that's really geared towards college athletes when name, image, likeness is passed. So I'm trying to help those people be able to do that. When my first NFT sold, I had $28 in my account. So
Wow.
I understand what it means to be a college athlete and what you have to go through and how you can't profit. And you see, you look at my name on Amazon and people are selling T-shirts with my name and whatever it is. The NCAA is not getting that money, and neither is the school. So this money, this new revenue stream of being able to make money off your name, image, likeness doesn't take anything away from the NCAA, and people are already doing it. They're just kind of stealing, players' NIL.
Right.
That also sounds like the NFT is a great way to sort of cut down the middleman, right? Like it doesn't mean that players are going to have to figure out either a deal with a clothing company or, someone who makes the shirts. Like it's sort of completely in their control with your help of how they make one of these NFTs.
Absolutely. And, to get different endorsement deals, there's always a middleman, someone to go through. So this is something different to be able to profit off that. And if there's any middleman, it would be me with the NFT group to try to kind of help. And I'm a college kid. I'm not someone that's looking to hurt you. I'm trying to help you. So it's a really unique way of being able to do it. And I think, that's the biggest thing is that you can't take any money away from the NCAA and the TV contracts they have and all that stuff. You have to be able to create, new revenue, something else. And that is what the NFT kind of does for me.
Other than NFTs, what do you look back on your career at Iowa, and if name, image, likeness existed, if you could profit off of your own name, what would you look back on your career in Iowa and say, I wish I could have done that? Is it like a car dealership commercial? Is it like what sticks out to you as like, man, that would have been cool to like been able to do that?
I think, one of my favorite pizza spots, actually kind of near Cedar Rapids, Roscoe's Pizza. They wanted to do a pizza that was called like the Garzilla or something like that.
Oh man.
And so, that would have been cool. And they're going to be doing that now, but to be able to have eaten it in college, taking someone to be like, yeah, let me get, that pizza. No,
I'm picturing Happy Gilmore eating the Subway. And it's like Luka Garza.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, that's great. What else, Charlotte? What else do we have to talk? Oh, I've always wanted to ask you this, Luka. How do you feel about Luka Doncic? Is this good for you? Is this good for you or bad for you that Luka Doncic has exploded on the scene and has kind of become a one-name guy? It's obviously I feel like it might be good because it's increasing the Luka brand, but then also when people say Luka, maybe they don't think of you. How do you feel about this?
Great question, Mark.
I think it's great. Yeah, it is a great question. I think it's great. Growing up, there were not too many Lukas that I knew of, Luka, spelled that way. And so people still continue to sometimes spell it wrong, say Luke Garza or Luca. When I was in high school, the ESPN 100 list came out and it was Luke Garza. at number 100. So I think, with him kind of putting on for the name, now people will just start to recognize, oh, it's Luka, like Luka Doncic. So there won't be any more mistakes.
But now you're going to get people that don't understand how time works, and they're going to think that you're like named after Luka Doncic or something.
Here's the thing, though.
He's
that
younger
is your dad a big Luka Doncic fan or what? You're like, what?
I do think, Luka, that your last name is so much easier to say, and no disrespect to the other Luka, but cooler. Like Garza is a great last name.
Garzilla, Charlotte. You heard
yeah,
it.
exactly,
Yeah, awesome.
exactly.
Yeah.
So like you can roll with that while people. You can be the only Garza, but benefit. You can draft off of the Luka momentum. I think it's great.
Yeah. Exactly. If I had, it was thank God for my dad, because if it was still my mother's maiden name, it'd be hard to say. Like Doncic would be Muftic.
Ooh, that's a great name, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. I want to ask you a series of questions, and then this is all I have left to ask you, Luka. Now that you're out of college. Now that you don't have I've had you on a couple different shows I've done before, and I think one of them, Fran, was with you. Coach McCaffrey was just sitting right by your side.
Beginning of the year. Yeah.
And I think like we got done with the show, and I turned to Tate, and I was like, man, that would be nerve-wracking. Like if I'm Luka to have my coach just sitting right there, it's like I'm scared to. I don't know. It reminded me. This is a deep dive, but it reminded me of there's this famous interview where Bob Knight is sitting next to Steve Alford, like way back in the day, and Steve Alford looks like he's being held hostage. And so now that you're done playing in college, I want to ask you some questions that maybe you can more freely answer. And my first one is this: have you ever internally laughed as Fran McCaffrey has been going nuts as he's yelling at the team, and some small part of you is like, this is kind of funny, like I'm supposed to be like taking this seriously, but like his outburst is funny to you? Did you ever at any point like internally laugh?
In the moment in a game, no, but during film sessions, maybe after the game, or at different points, we lost to we lost to Penn State at the Palestra, and our senior Ryan Kriener, took a crazy shot like from 50 feet, and coach started just going off about it, and I sit right next to him in film, and I was trying everything to hold my laughter from busting out laughing, and guys are like behind me in the rows, and I can hear them laughing, and it's just that's the hard part. I always sat next to coach, so it was always like, I'd have to like keep my eyes on the screen and not laugh. But no, it's film sessions can get really, really funny.
All right. Another one I wrote down is, what team did you get the most enjoyment out of beating in your time in Iowa? Which was the most fun to beat, to stick it to?
I think, the best answer I can say is Iowa State, beating them in Hilton Coliseum for the first time in Coach McCaffrey's career, and in a long time at Iowa. That was a lot of fun. I think also, beating Illinois my junior year at home, that was a big time win. And for me, that was one of the biggest shots that I've hit in my career to kind of seal the game. So I think those two teams, obviously, anytime you can beat Michigan or Ohio State or Michigan State this year, finally being able to beat them and finally being able to beat Purdue, I think there's a good amount of teams that I look forward to beating.
All right. Finally, the last question I had, what are your thoughts on Jordan Bohannon refusing to leave college?
No, I think it's awesome. He has done such a great job in multiple ways in helping, a lot of college athletes with this name, image, and likeness movement. And now he can continue to do it with a huge platform. But, the guy has been there longer than me. He's going to outlast so many people.
He's working on his doctorate, isn't he? He's got to be on his doctorate at this point.
Oh my God. I don't know. He's trying to get insurance, life insurance, everything like that. It's been awesome, but no, he's done so much for the University of Iowa, and I'm so happy for him, proud of him, and excited to see him lead this team next year as the senior leader.
There we
go. Senior leader.
Senior, like fifth, yeah, he's like the first ever 8-year senior we've ever had. God love him. Charlotte, anything else? Have we taken enough of Luka's time?
I think we have, but there was a question that a troll question that Mark may or may not have fed me, which was asking you, Luka, that the game, the loss to Oregon, you did your part. You had 36 points, 9 rebounds, and what teammate? Who do you blame most for that loss? You did everything you could, man.
I don't blame anybody. I think for us,
we're not recording, Luka. We're not recording. This is off air. This is.
I'm bright red. Do you see how nervous asking you that?
No, I mean Oregon would have beat a lot of teams in the country that day with the way they shot the ball. It was just a tough matchup for us, and for them to have, not have to play the first round is also an advantage that they have. But we can't make any excuses. If they shot the ball like that against USC the next game, they would have been on to Elite Eight. But unfortunately, they weren't able to do that. But when teams get hot like that, you can't really control, and that's what the tournament's about. It's about luck. It's about getting hot at the right time, and unfortunately, we weren't able to do either of those things.
Yeah, there's no good scenario where losing an NCAA tournament is like acceptable, or like, because some part of you is like, maybe you leave that Oregon game and you think they just outplayed us, and we kind of like, we probably weren't going to beat them even if we played well, just how well they played. So you're like, maybe if something different, I would rather have been more competitive, but you play the what if game, Luka, and no matter what scenario you come up with in your mind, if you lose the game, you're like, no, that sucks too. It all sucks. There's never a scenario where like, yeah, that would have been great to have lost on a last second shot. I would have actually been fine with that. Yeah.
There's no way to be satisfied with a loss, especially in that moment when we worked so hard to be able to try to push further than that. So it's something that is always going to bother me at some level, but I'm excited to see Iowa continue to push forward, and I think Coach Fran is the program's really headed in the right direction. So I'm excited to see the future.
Always a
to
diplomat.
Be clear, I was just fully razzing you. You had an unbelievable season, and
no, he was awesome. He was awesome in the Oregon game. I'll let Luka be diplomatic, and I'll answer it for him, Charlotte. He was awesome. And
I know, I saw. I was like, there he is.
Let's point the finger at CJ Frederick, who's being tampered to go to Kentucky during the time.
No comment. No comment.
This is like, how do I get off the Zoom?
I hate this so much. Luka, you're the best, man. Best of luck with these NFTs, man. Appreciate you joining us. Good luck moving forward with everything.
Much.
All right.
Thank you, Luka. Great to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is just come up with rules that throw a wrench in the entire system.
We want to troll.
These are top 5 troll rules.
Yeah, because it's more fun to do this than it is to try to fix everything. Because as you said, it's all already been fixed, and the rest of sports media is there to fix everything. So we're gonna troll. We're gonna ruin everything. My caveat is that I feel like you can do whatever you want with your list. That's the fun of the show. Yeah. My caveat was I wanted mine to at least be semi-plausible. I wanted to like actually think that there's a world where these rules might actually exist. So I didn't say, like an example for me would be like no offsides in soccer. That would make everyone lose their mind. But like that would never ever happen. You know what I mean? So I try to make
also some of them sound outrageous, but then when you think about adding things like a 6th foul, you're like, oh, actually that's not. Like I didn't have any ones where I took away rules or like fundamentally changed. It's like all sort of extra weird stuff.
Okay. Well, I think you have to be able to explain why they would come up with this rule. It's not just like, we're not just trying to burn the whole system
There's
down.
a reason for the rule, and I'm very excited about it.
So I some of mine I think like might actually happen.
I mean, one of mine I would die on this hill. One of mine I actually think should be the way that it goes.
All right, so these are our troll rule changes that are just going to piss everybody off and shake up the system, a la the play-in tournament. Although I don't think everybody hates it. I think a lot of people like it, but something like that.
A lot of people could like these. We don't know, but they're things people would talk about.
What is a tweak that we anticipate everyone would hate and is plausible? So Charlotte, you go first. Your number 5, please.
My number 5 is if you foul out in the NBA, you have a chance to get back into the game if you win a game of knockout. They stop the game. You play a 5-person game of knockout and you can get back in. You play the other team in a game of knockout. And if you win knockout, you can come back into the game.
It's like backboard dodgeball in PE. Whenever you hit the backboard.
Exactly.
The guy that's been knocked out gets back in.
Yeah.
Did you play that? Did that make its way to
the
Northeast?
Oh yeah. The backboard, it was like if you hit the wall, the person who got out comes back in.
He comes back in. Yeah. Okay. I was just making sure that wasn't like
a weird Indiana thing.
Weird Indiana thing. Yeah.
It probably is, but somehow I knew it.
The thing about your idea is that piggybacking off of the play-in tournament idea, I think we have reached a point where every idea, the NBA is the one major league in this country where every idea is plausible. Every single one.
Because in this case, say LeBron fouls out, they want him back in the game.
Of course they do.
They would do something this desperate to get their ratings up, to get LeBron or Steph Curry back in the game if they foul out.
Yes, it is.
And that's why I think it's actually plausible. Like, I wouldn't, if they did this, I'd be like, this is so dumb, but also like, I get why they did it.
Sounds stupid. You know what else sounds stupid is in the middle of a pandemic, let's fly everyone to Disney World and put them in a bubble just to play out a tournament.
Yes.
Also sounds stupid.
Disney
and they did that
World.
When they pitched the bubble. I mean, I have receipts of this. Like, every tweet I had about this was like, I love the ambition, but this is preposterous. Like, how there's no way they can pull this off. There's no way they're gonna keep these guys inside the bubble and not get them. And they did it. I'll be damned. They did it somehow.
They did it and then went right back to everybody getting COVID.
Right back to
they did
getting.
it like for a little bit.
The same with like the lottery, even like when the lottery started, that's an absurd. If the draft lottery didn't exist and you pitched the draft lottery, you'd be like, this is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. You're going to draw
I've
ping
told
pong
you this
balls
before, right? That like when I first found out that the draft lottery was a thing, I freaked out. I started laughing so hard, and I was working at SB Nation at the time, and I hadn't come up in NBA circles, so I didn't really know what I was talking about. I still don't, but like whatever. And I was like, wait, so you're telling me that they use ping pong balls to choose who gets to choose when?
Yes.
And everyone in the office was like, yeah, actually that's exactly. And I was like, you realize that this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And they were like, you should write that. They were like, would you write that column? And I did. And it was like, it did numbers because everyone else was like, oh yeah, that is really weird.
Yeah, that is stupid.
That's why I think knockout's plausible.
Yeah, but I was backing up your point that just basically the NBA throughout history has done off the wall things, and knockout is more plausible than you think, people. I love it. That's a great way to start the list.
Thanks.
Number 5, I think this isn't that extreme of an idea, but I'll just say it. My number 5 is AL pitchers have to hit. I think it goes the other way. Last year we got the universal DH in baseball, and there was talk about maybe that being a permanent thing moving forward, is that the National League adopts a DH. But I envision a world where the new commissioner doesn't hate baseball, is not Rob Manfred, who hates baseball, is a guy like me who grew up watching National League baseball and loves the purity of 9 guys versus 9 guys. And if you play the field, you have to hit and do both. Everyone has to do both. And he steps in and he's like, you know what? We're going back. Like this is too much. We've had this era of putting runners on second base to start extra innings. We've played 7-inning things. We're juicing the balls. We're unjuicing the balls. We're juicing the players. We're unjuicing the players. It's too much. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get back to the basics, and we're gonna play the game as Abner Doubleday intended. And
did you have to look that up?
That he invented the game? No, I knew that. That's a piece of trivia.
I mean, same, obviously. Everybody knows that.
We're gonna play some good old fashioned baseball, and American League pitchers you now have to hit. And I think everyone will lose their mind. American League fans would obviously lose their minds because they love the DH because they're simple minded and they don't understand, double switches and sacrifice bunts. Number 2, I think National League fans like myself would hate it because I wouldn't have superiority over you where I could say things like that. Because like we would both have to, you see what I mean? So like I think it piss off everybody.
I have nothing to say except that that's brilliant. I would love this. That's a troll rule that I would fully endorse as a American League idiot who wanted to be a DH when she grew up. So I'm here for it. All right, Mark. My 4th rule is women's tennis goes to best of 5 sets instead of best of 3 for Grand Slams.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I want this is because I have absolutely no idea what the reaction would be. I don't know whether this would be seen as feminist or misogynist. And like, I can't wait to see what women tell me I'm a horrible woman for even joking about this, because I just don't know. Is it like, to me, this is a complete wild card, unreadable situation that would be truly an agent of chaos move.
That's a good point. Yeah, because both, I think you would be told both things, and that's as you said, like maximum chaos is like not having. Yeah, it's a good point. It's like not necessarily a decision that everybody hates. It's a decision that gets people. You don't want 100% of the people on one side. You want 50 on either side, and then let them duke it out. Yeah.
And I don't even have an opinion about this, which is why I think it's so funny. Like, I don't know.
That's the best part is you just like light the fuse and then step back. And
exactly. You toss the Molotov cocktail onto the boat. Not sure why. Very specific scenario in my head.
You're that girl, the picture of the fire going on and the girl smiling, turned at her, looking and got that sly smile. That's you. Yeah. You're like 5 games.
5 games.
When really, I think the reaction is like, all right, cool, I guess.
Yeah, people will be like weird or cool, but
yeah, I guess like the games are going to be a little longer now, or the matches will be longer now, but I guess that's
I just assume that everything will make everybody mad. So
no, yeah, that is a good point. I don't know how people would take that. That's a good one. My number 4 is back to the NBA.
Yes,
this is my big NBA idea that, again, might sound crazy, but it's the NBA we're talking about, so it's probably not that crazy. It's more plausible than you might think. Relegation in the NBA, and not just relegation. I see it like this, because the NBA, like, one of the things the NBA is trying to combat, obviously, is tanking. Like, this is the lottery was put in place for this. They hate it. They hate the idea of tanking, but you can't like get around it, and there's not, because you don't want to. I don't know. You want to make your horrible teams better. Like, you still want them to. You don't want them to just be stuck as dormant team for forever. Right. But also, you don't want to reward teams that are just going to purposely lose games. So it's like, what do we do? How do we do this? I have the solution, Charlotte. Mm-hmm. It is that every year one team gets sent to the G League, and we bring one team up from the G League. And how do we decide that one team? It is not the worst team necessarily. It is not the worst team necessarily. What it is we do the NBA lottery as is. Everything is the exact same as it is right now and in the NBA. But when the night of the lottery, whoever wins, quote unquote, that's the team that's relegated.
Oh, that's amazing.
And the team that gets the second pick in the normal system of the lottery, you get the first pick. So now teams are going to like tank, but you don't want to take, and because like the lottery, as the lottery works right now, it's still like the odds are loaded where like if you're the worst team, you have the better chance of getting the number 1 pick. So
how many teams are in all of like 9 of them? Is it the bottom 9?
It's more than that. It's like 15 or something.
The bottom 15?
Yeah. It's like 14, something like that.
Oh, this is a true agent of chaos.
It'd be 14 because there's 30 teams and 16 make the playoffs. So it'd be 14.
Okay. Yeah. 9. Where did I get 9 from? It's just like, here's a number.
I should just like
Charlotte explained things. So 9 teams.
I should have just said, yeah. Actually, you're right. You're exactly right. It's 9. It is 9.5 teams. I don't know how they.
Oh my God.
So you still have the odds weighted though. Like if you're the worst team, you have the greatest odds of getting the quote unquote number 1 pick. It all goes exactly, but like imagine the lottery night. Imagine how glued in you're going to be on lottery night. You're going through the teams, and then there's like 2 teams left, and then we're like, all right, and like Rachel Nichols is like, we're going to go to commercial, and when we come back, we'll find out who gets the number 1 pick and who has to play in Bakersfield after this.
Absolutely brilliant, Mark. Oh my God!
Awesome.
I mean, imagine if like the Wizards got.
Yeah, they almost made the playoffs. They lose this game, whatever.
Say they lose Wednesday night, and then
the ping pong balls bounce their way, and now you're relegated.
And now they're relegated. Also, it would make people watch a G League.
You're right.
The TV contracts for that could become somewhat more lucrative, but at least in certain markets.
And also, as teams are tanking, you want to tank because, like, the more you tank, the better your chances of getting the number 1 pick are.
But
also, you might overdo it.
I love this so much. These rules are like, I would actually like, these are hilarious. The way they're already going like halfway to ridiculous. So why not just go like full ridiculous?
Go all the way.
I love
it. Just go all in. So that's my number 4. I do.
Okay. Well, in that vein, this is a college basketball rule change.
I hate it.
You're going to love it.
I'm mad already.
You're going to love it. If any one team is winning by more than 40 points in a college basketball team, the winning team's players may only shoot with their non-dominant hand. This is, first of all, nearly impossible to enforce. Second of all, if you dip down to say you're only winning by 38 at this point, you can go back to shooting with your dominant hand.
Back to
but once you're over 40, it's like a fake mercy rule.
Just having a mercy rule would be funny. That would be
mercy rule in general would be so. It's like if you're winning by 40, you call the game.
Yeah, you just there's like 12 minutes left, and you hit a shot, and then everyone just walks off the floor.
I mean, honestly, like
there's a guy. There's a guy that went on a beer run that's coming back from the bathroom, and he's like, "What the hell? It's over? I missed that. What? I thought there was like 15 minutes."
Exactly. Left. But listen, it would mean that like fewer kids would get hurt in pointless games.
Yeah.
You know, if they're not making money off their NFTs yet, they can protect themselves.
You could also, if you're shooting with the non-dominant hand, it's a way to practice.
Exactly.
You're accidentally making good teams better, Charlotte.
Everybody gets something out of it.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, like coaches are recruiting ambidextrous guys because they're trying to run the score up. They're like, we want to win by 70 so we can get a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Exactly.
So, I like
it. You get it. All right. Anyway,
number 3 for me. This one might be number 1 in terms of like anger, in terms of like I think this one would burn this country to the ground, and I also think this is very, very, very plausible. This is the most plausible of all the ones I have on my list.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
And it is this: no NFL regular season overtime at all. If the clock hits 0 and it's tied, it's a tie.
I made myself choke.
That the NFL says this is why it's plausible to me. Roger Goodell comes out. Well, it's not Roger Goodell. It's what the NFL. It's the Shield. It's like we know the Shield. It's not. It's a shadowy entity that just kind of like, makes the decisions. And they say this. They say, we have crunched the numbers. We have looked at the data, and overtime is still far too luck based. It's still too much of like a coin flip. It is not a fair assessment of who the better team is. We have tried tweaking the rules through the years. We have tried everything. It still ultimately comes down to like whoever gets the ball first, or just kind of too much. There's too much luck involved. And on top of that, we have throughout the regular season, we have too many of these games that are kicking off at 1 Eastern, and we're trying to get to the next game, and it's going into overtime, and Jacksonville and Houston are in overtime. And it's like, we're trying to get to the
and prime. Red zone is just absolute chaos.
So what we're going to do is it's just going to be a level field, and we're not going to do overtime at all. And if it's tied at the end, it's tied, and that's it. And it's done. And no regular season overtime. We're going to save it for the playoffs, and that'll make it more special too. It's like when you see overtime, it'll mean something because that means it's a playoff game. And that's what we're going to do. And I think every single NFL fan would lose their absolute mind.
Yep. I think that is the most plausible and the most aggravating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I also love it. I think we should have more ties in general. I think ties are hilarious. Whenever I see a 1 tacked on to the end of an NFL record, I'm like, good for the Browns.
How funny would that be if that was like Urban Meyer could win me over as an NFL coach if like he says like one of his goals this year is to break the NFL record for ties. He's like, we are trying. How many games did they play? 17. He's like, we're trying to go 9 and 4 and 4.
Yes.
Like that's our goal this year.
And why do you think we signed Tim Tebow?
Yeah.
He's a known tie man.
He's the tie
man.
So
good. That's so good. My number 2 is also an NFL rule. And this is actually the one that I like the most, like that I want this to happen. I want to see this implemented. And it's similar to your lottery pick. It sort of messes with tanking a little bit because I think the 4 worst teams in the NFL have their own mini playoff tournament for the number 1, 2, 3, and 4th pick in the draft.
Ooh.
Hear me out.
I like that.
So you have the 1 and the 4 seed, or I guess the 26th and 32nd seed play each other. And then the 2 and the 3 seed play each other. And then the 2 winners play each other. And that determines the 1 and 2 seed. And then the 2 losers play each other to determine the 3 and 4 seed. So the 1 pick, the 2 pick, the 3 pick, the 4 pick. Because this way, I think it's really unfair that the number 1 pick in the draft has to go to the worst team in football.
Yes.
As evidenced by Joe Burrow.
Yes.
Like if he could have gone to the 4th worst team, I think it would have made things.
And Trevor Lawrence, for God's sake.
Exactly.
Like the guy, your reward for being like the best recruit and the best college, whatever, the best prospect maybe ever is you get to play for a guy who's signing Tim Tebow.
Exactly. It's like, what? And like you have to live in Cincinnati? Like, you kidding me? Why? Like, what's the incentive there?
Down.
Okay.
Calm down.
Sorry, I love Cincinnati.
Small market Mark.
Anyway, I think that this would make not only it would add more football at the end of the year in a very fun, exciting way. It would make teams legitimately not want to be the worst team.
Yeah.
Because then they're not going to get the best pick.
I would love. I love this idea. That makes a lot of sense. More football is always a great idea, and I think the NFL gets behind that too because that's why they added a game to the schedule this year. I like this though. Like this is well after the Super Bowl in my mind. Like this is in like
interesting.
April,
right before
like almost like right before the draft.
Wow, Mark.
This is like everyone's like kind of already forgot about the NFL season, and then you're like, oh. That's right.
Like, oh, damn, the losers tournament is coming up.
Yeah, it's like right after Masters Week. And you're like, oh, yes, that's right.
Yes, we get the losers. Oh, I love that. And you could call it something sort of euphemistic, like, you know, the second hope tournament, or, you know, something like something that's like not losers because the NFL has to be positive, but it's like the, you know, it's like calling seniors old people seniors.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, that's my I really
I like that idea. That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Number 2 for me, this would also upset a lot of people. But I don't like it. Hockey's not as big in this country as NFL is. So my number 2 is no fights in hockey. That there's a rule put in that's like it's like I don't know, whoever the commissioner, Rob Manfred becomes the commissioner of the NHL. I know Gary Bettman, people don't like him, but Manfred becomes a commissioner of the NHL, and he's like, this is barbaric. This is, you know, fighting is, I don't understand how we condone this. Like we literally penalize these guys when they fight. So like, how can we then allow them to also like, how can it be woven into the fabric of the sport, but also when they do it, we put them in the penalty box. This makes no sense. What I'm going to do is institute a rule. If you fight, you're ejected. It's like every other sport. You're ejected. You don't go to the penalty box. You're ejected. No more fighting. Clean it up. Let's clean up the game. Let's focus on scoring goals. Let's focus on growing out our beards and drinking beer out of the Stanley Cup. These are the things we care about in hockey. No longer do I want to see fighting. No more fighting, which would ironically, I think, make a lot of people fight. I think that putting that rule would make all of America and Canada to start fighting everybody. They'd be so angry. There'd be so much more fighting in the crowd. Yeah.
Like, you know, the rule about a goalie, a backup goalie, you can pick anyone from the crowd. They would have to do that for the whole team because the players would fight so much more that they would all just be ejected.
Yeah.
Manfred's like, look. You can cheat, but you can't fight.
You can. I liked it. Like Gary Bettman is considered like one of the worst commissioners. We talked about it on the hockey. I know nothing about the guy. I just like every time his face exists,
you have to boo
anywhere, it gets booed. And they already had a bad commissioner. My mind went to like, let's say they get even worse. Let's get Rob Manfred in there.
Oh, it's so good. That's a great one, Mark. That's like rude, honestly. My number 1 is a rule that I can't decide if I hate or love, which is why I made it number 1, because it would make so many people so mad. And it's that in baseball, instead of extra innings, it just turns into a home run derby.
Whoa.
Because I don't even want that. Because to me, part of what I love about baseball is the war of attrition. Like if you're going, if it's like a low scoring game, make it go to like 15 innings. Make the tension like so much that I can't handle it until somebody finally breaks it. I love that about the sport. I also love home runs. I would hate this. And everybody would hate this, but it would also be like baseball trying to galaxy brain themselves into being like, what do people want? What's the hip young way to make more people watch this? More home runs. Okay, home run derby instead of extra innings.
But it's not a home run derby. You don't pick like one guy to do it. It's like the whole team has to do
the lineup.
You do you just keep going through the lineup over and over. Yeah.
But it's just a meatball hit, and whoever in like 2 rounds hits more home runs.
That's so good. I love that. That's a great idea. You're right though, because I think I've made this observation on the show before that when you're watching baseball and it goes to extra innings, the 10th inning's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's like, oh my God, anything can happen. Whoever wins, you know, it's sudden death, do or die. If you score here, we could walk it off. Exactly. Oh my God, 11th inning, you're like, okay, still could walk it off here. Still could. 12th inning, you're like, all right. Would love a walk-off, you guys. Would love for this 13th inning. You're like, my God, get this thing over with. Exactly. But then somehow it gets completely flipped and it comes back around where you wake up and it's the 16th inning. And if you're someone who's been like watching this whole game, it's in the 16th inning, you're like, I want this game to go to 48 innings.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
I never want this to end. This is hilarious what I'm witnessing. And so I think because people are already upset about the runner on second situation.
I'm livid about the runner on second.
Yeah, but a home run derby, you can't go wrong with the home run derby. So I like the idea of a home run derby doing something, like meaning something.
Right.
Like maybe,
I do too.
like there's some sort of, maybe they do that instead of the play-in wild card game. The one play, they just
There it
line
is.
them up and have them do the
There it is. That's a much better idea. There you go.
But I love the idea of just, I love where your brain's at, where you just sit down and you're like, we need more home run derbies. I haven't figured out where we put the home run derbies.
So let's just scratch the extra innings.
But just give me more home run derbies.
Here we go. Great. Just drop it in. These are all just like Molotov cocktails of rules.
It's great. That's what that's what we're doing. We're trolling. My number one is similar to your women's tennis. Add 5 or play 5 sets. You said, is that what it is? 5 sets. My number one is for women's basketball. Lower the hoop to 9 feet.
There it is.
From now on, women's basketball will be played at 9 feet because, like you, I have no idea what the reaction would be. I think initially people will be upset because it does seem a little misogynistic that like, why you don't think women can like get the ball up to 10 foot, but then also I think they would like sit back and kind of like watch what happens next, and like the ratings would explode.
Totally.
Girls would be like cocking it back and dunking on each other, and like people would actually be like going nuts for WNBA games, and they'd be like, okay, this is a weird, I'm in a weird spot. I don't know how to react because like,
I've seen both. I've seen women in the game argue for both keeping it and lowering it. And I, again, have no idea, but everybody knows I'm a bad woman. So like, I really can't even weigh in on this, but
that's your new Twitter bio.
A bad woman.
I'm a bad woman.
A bad woman.
I'm a bad woman.
That's the name of my band too. Bad woman. Anyway, I think these are incredible rules. I'm really proud of us. I've also embarrassingly thought of a lot of these before.
Really?
Yeah, like the mini tournament for the NFL pick.
That's a good one. I actually like that one. I don't think that one's a troll at all. I think that one would be it is weird though how tanking is kind of more accepted in the NFL, because I don't know. Because I guess tanking the NFL isn't so drawn out. It's like you have fewer number of games. In the NBA, it's like, oh my God, we still have like 36 games to watch this team purposely lose.
Exactly.
In the NFL, every team starts the season, even if you know you're not making the Super Bowl, I feel like every single team starts the season like actually trying, obviously.
Yeah.
And you don't start tanking until it's like halfway through and you're
it's like 7 or game 7 or 8 and you're like,
yeah. And then at that point, it's just a couple more games that you have to throw, and it's more palatable than
and fans want you to throw them.
Yeah.
Except for me, I hate tanking.
Yeah. But
anyway,
I like your idea though. We did we solve all the sports?
I think we fixed them. I think we ruined them. I think we fixed them by ruining them.
Nice. Now we tint our fingers together like this with our fingertips and say excellent.
And watch the ratings explode. We work for a TV network. It's no coincidence.
What else we got? Is that it?
That's it, man. I think we'll wait till next week to do our silent podcast, or we'll just keep saying that every week and keep the listeners coming back.
Thank you to Luka Garza for joining us.
Yes.
Go check out Luka. I'm gonna bid on one of his NFTs. I'm not bidding $41,000. I mean, sorry, Luka, but I'm not.
Do you have to pay in like Ethereum?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I hope not. Isn't
because
Ethereum tanking?
If you have to bid in Bitcoin, you're screwed. Unless you have Bitcoin, I don't know. I haven't.
What's up, guys? Aunt Shar here. I use Bitcoin to buy my NFTs. I don't know about you guys. But then again, I am a bad woman.
And then I ride off on my motorcycle like Dennis Rodman.
All right, see you guys Monday. Tuesday. See you guys Tuesday.
Hey pals, thanks for watching the People Sports Podcast YouTube channel. For more of mine and Mark's very weird rabbit holes, stick around, watch more. You can subscribe, smash that subscribe button. You know you want to. We're going to give you all the weird stuff we possibly can.